Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. I'm your host, Dan Jones, joined as always by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow and former pro Henk Vogals, who's ridden the Tour of Spain on how many occasions, Hank?
Twice. I did two Vueltas, so 1995 and 1998.
And was it a race that you looked forward to competing in back in the day?
Well, 1995 was my first year pro, and I was 21 years old. And in the mid-90s, obviously the speed was ridiculous. So I was actually going all right, but I got absolutely towed up, especially in the mountains, obviously, and I've never been good in the mountains anyway. But did okay actually. Did a couple of top tens here and there. But my main role in 1995 was to lead out Djimalene Abdu-Japarov, the Tashkent Terror. So that was interesting.
The Baby Eater was his other nickname.
What was he like? I mean, my knowledge pre sort of 2005 is rough as guts, but I've definitely heard of that name because there was a famous sprint. Was he the one involved in the sprint that cleaned up the policeman at the Tour de France? Was that year?
Nah, that was Laurent Jalabert who cleaned up the policeman. In 1994 on the Champs-Élysées, he was going to win the sprint and he had his head down because that's how he sprinted, and he just rode directly into the barriers.
Oh, I knew there was a crash.
70 km an hour.
It was amazing. I remember I was standing on the finish line watching him go towards me, and I thought, where's he going? It was just head down and just lost direction. He was going to win it, but he was lengths clear. Just rode straight in the barricades, about 40 or 50 metres to go.
Yeah, but it was unbelievable.
Does he fit the traditional mould of like most sprinters are crazy?
Yeah, I would probably put him in the top three craziest sprinters of all time. Here's a nutter, an absolute nutter. It didn't communicate very well because he could barely speak English because he was from Tashkent, which is like somewhere in some Eastern Bloc country. I wouldn't be able to tell you. So, and he was their big signing. So Novell was Rabobank before Rabobank, and before Novell, it was Buckler or Word Perfect, and before that was Super Convex and Rally. So that team's been going forever, but he was the big signing in 1995 with Rolf Sorensen, who was also a big signing. Ekimov was on the team that year. Decker, Michael Bogut, Eric Decker, Liam Van Bon, and a certain young Robert McEwen.
There's a fair mix. If he sent me a photo, I didn't have time to upload it, but this is you in the super tuck position and looking bloody lean, mate. Trim.
Yeah, that's actually. I would love to be that skinny again, but I lost 9 kilos in that tour. That's the most dramatic weight loss in my whole career. I mean, I must have had some puppy fat going in as a neo, and I had some knee injuries in my career early in that year, and I started coming good, got a few results, and they threw me in there as a lead-out man for him, which was an eye-opener, and I lost 9 kilos through that tour and had to lead him out for the first 10 stages, of which we did. He was leading the points jersey by a mile, and then, as sprinters do, after 10 days, he'd done enough and decided to do a chippo and get the hell out of there. So we'd done all these, like you're a neo-pro, you're 21 years old, you're told you have to go and lead out for this points jersey that he was going to win by a country mile. He was probably 100 points up at that time, and he decided he'd had enough. He was on a big contract, so he headed off home. So I had to get through the tour and had to push Sven Teutenberg, actually, who was the other sprinter on the team, for the rest of the Vuelta.
That would have been a lot of pressure, being obviously a neo-pro leading out the likes of that stature of a rider. I mean, how were you going into those finals? I mean, did you just have to really back yourself and trust your instincts?
Well, I mean, we weren't really doing the full 5-6 man lead out. It was just Sven Teutenberg and myself. Actually, Edwig van Hooydonk was there as well, I think. And he just said, listen, get us to the last K. Just make sure I don't want to touch the pedals, and then I'll just butt heads, which he could do really well because he was tiny. He was bloody 5'5" or something. He was, had like legs like a pure sprinter, obviously, just a chunky muscle. We just get him in the right position. But yeah, that was probably my first real time of it leading anyone out in Grand Tours. So it was, yeah, you're right, Dan. It was really kind of scary, especially in those times. It was a bit madness.
Just final one, getting insights from the 95 Vuelta, but did sprinters back then, if they had a successful Grand Tour, did they give you any kickbacks? Like, obviously there's prize money, but sometimes sprinters will give you like a watch or like a token for when you have a good race.
No, he didn't. He was
tight ass.
He was a spout. Well, I heard rumours that he signed for like $1 million, which was big for a Dutch team back then. They didn't have big budgets like there is now. You know, they probably had like 8 million for the year, and he was on $1 million. So he never really talked to anyone. He was just there for the dough. He didn't get any results, and he moved on to Lotto straight after that and ended up going positive. So that was the end of him.
Right. So obviously, if he yesterday's stage, we knew it was going to be a sprint, and we were obviously a bit biased, hoping that Michael Matthews could get the chocolates. He got bloody close. What was your takeaways from stage 2?
I give him 9 out of 10 because, people keep touting him as to win some of these sprints, but he's never been able to win them. He's not a pure sprinter. He's a good, tough bike rider. Someone actually said today they put him in Stu O'Grady's class, and he probably is similar in lots of ways. He's tough, can get over a few hills, but he was never going to beat Jacobsen or Philipsen. They're just too quick. So he will win stages in this Giro on the ones, those sort of medium stages. It's a little bit hilly, and they get spat because he's probably equal third best with a couple of others. Demar, I don't know what happened here. He got lost, absolutely, completely stuffed it up. Actually, his team rode on the front for most of the day, and then he got lost in the last kilometre. But no, overall, I thought Michael Matthews, that was about as good as you could get. Mez did a brilliant job and got it right to the right spot. He went right at the right time. Could make one a fraction later, but they still would have rolled him because they're just quicker than him.
What do you reckon, Hank?
Yeah, I think Matthews is more of that guy to win out of a break of 8 or 10, or when there's a hard final where he won in the Tour a couple of years ago when it was uphill. They're the kind of ones that you would back him in for, not just the fast, flat, pure speed. He's never really been that pure sprinter. Like he won the Worlds in Geelong. Like when it's hard, then you back him in. But pure speed, he hasn't got it. He hasn't got that pure power and acceleration. But when they're all on the river, that's when you want to back Michael Matthews. And he's got so much experience now. He's been riding for a long time now, so he's I'm sure there's going to be 1 or 2 stages where he's going to get there, but in a pound for pound sprint, he's not in the top 5. But like you said, Johnny, having just him being there in the podium is great.
And we said to Jules yesterday, there could be a bit of stress, a few wind issues, which could lead to crashes. And he's like, well, generally, it's not too bad. The Vuelta, of course, whenever you say that, there's a crash. And there was one, obviously, with 4K to go. I think, Yates, he lost 31 seconds. Iffy, a couple others got held up by the bingle, but overall not too bad compared to the Tour.
I hate that rule. I hate the 3K rule. I reckon on flat bunch sprint stages, they should make it at 10K to go.
Yeah.
If it's a flat run in, if you get dropped, that's it. But if you get caught in a crash, they should just GC, that means you get the climbers out of the way of the sprinters, which then makes the sprint safer. I hate that 3K rule. They should bring that right out.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So Jack Haig and Lucas Hamilton also got caught up in it. So Adam Yates, those 3, they didn't fall, but they got stopped. Bad luck. 30 seconds. They're lucky there was only 30 seconds because they were going at the front at that time. But I'll tell you who was lucky. Roglic. You see, he skirts around the fort. They fell right in front of me, just missed them. So he was very lucky not to go down, not just get stopped, but not to go down.
Got a good question here from Chris Peters. He says, should Matthews lead out Luca on the flat stages? What do you reckon, Hank?
No.
No.
I think he's a classy bike rider, Luca. But when Luca starts winning Grand Tour stages, then yeah. But I still think Matthews is a classier bike rider. I think
he won a stage of the Giro, didn't he? Back in the day, I think it was the final stage in 2014 when Grand Edge boys only had 2. I think he won a stage then, and he was close at the Tour. Did he finish second, Iffy, on one of the bunch lead-ins there?
He's a class bike rider. I agree with Henk. You don't turn it around. One, there's a big chance Matthews can win the points jersey in this Vuelta. And I can tell you, we've been a bit harsh on Michael in one part. He was last night's sprint was class. He did everything right. 2 of the fastest sprinters in the world just banged him on the line. So he finished third. It was classy, and no need to look at rethinking your tactics. And Michael would not be as good as Luca Mezgets when you reversed it. He wouldn't wind his way through the bunch and get him into the front like that. He's not that type of bike rider. He's admitted he doesn't even like it. He's not scared's not the word, but he fears it. Whereas a really good road sprinter, and even Henk, you were a bloody quick road sprinter yourself. And I remember you become one of the great lead-out men. You're talking about having trouble back in that first Vuelta, but you were one of the great lead-out men, for especially with Robbie. But you got to really love it. I mean, I loved getting into that mix for a road.
Yeah, me too.
Look forward to it. But Michael Matthews does not like that. He would not be able to get. Mezgets was brilliant yesterday, actually. He got him right to the right spot, right at the right time. And he did that throughout the Tour de France as well. So you got to give the right people for the right job. It's the old story. It's like Mark Renshaw. Everyone said, imagine what he's going to be able to do when he starts going for himself. But when he did, he couldn't do it. It wasn't what he was good at.
Yep.
What he was great at.
I know my place. I knew my place as a sprinter, and it was more of a lead-out man. I could win when it was hard, but not Grand Tour stages with Chippos and Minalis and Zabels and and McEwens. They're pure sprinters. They're born to do it, and they're nutters. They love that adrenaline. They actually feed off it. So, and Matthews, like you said, John, doesn't feel comfortable. He likes a clear run and he's just he's much better in the harder stages, and I'm sure there's plenty of them coming up in this Vuelta.
Is it better? You raise an interesting point. Is it better to make that decision much early in your career to go, this is my specialty, I'm a lead-out guy, and just commit and stick to that, and then you've got sort of sustainability, rather than you get some riders all over the shop?
You'll always have a home, especially if you do a good job. And it's not like lead-out men only ride for their team captain, because you do some Grand Tours and there's always bunchies, but there's always one-day races where you can use your speed as a lead-out man to win one-day races, or races where they're not every time there's a Grand Tour, team leader in a team. They do 100 days a year. So you can make your results in other races, but, when you go to a Grand Tour and you're like, geez, he did a good lead-out, like Renshaw's well-known, and Morker as well. So those guys, probably wouldn't have had as long careers as they did if they didn't find their specialty. And you've got guys who are like that in the climbs as well, the Housens and who have just made, that's their job to help the climbers in the climb. So yeah, everyone's got to find their spot. Otherwise, you're only as good as your last race. And if you don't keep getting results, then you don't get a contract.
I was just going to say, but then again, there are riders who started out as lead-out riders, but they became some great, like Sean Kelly. Sean Kelly was Freddie Martin's lead-out rider in the early days of Flandria when he first turned pro with Flandria. Did pretty well at it and became one of the greatest all-round bike riders of all time. And Pataki, another one.
Well, yeah. Well, I was on the receiving end of Alessandro Pataki when Pataki's team, he took 8 lead-out guys for the sprint, and have a guess who was in his team that year? Fabian Cancellara was one of his lead-out men.
Wow.
And then he went on to just be one of the best evers. But he was part of the lead-out train when Pataki first started winning Giro stages. So, you just ride incredibly fast on the flat. You decide you want to go into the cobbles, and you still ride incredibly fast. You win some monuments. So that's what he did.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing because a lot of riders around this time of year, there's all these announcements, they're changing teams and that. How attached do you become to the sprinter? And if he's going to change teams, do you expect an element of, well, you're going to have to let me know because we're almost a package deal? How does that usually work, Hank?
Yeah, I mean, you do see lead-out men swap sprinters, especially if they're, some guys don't really, are not good communicators with other riders on teams, so they just like to pick one and stay with them their whole career. But I've seen a lot of lead-out men change teams for different sprinters, that's for sure. But yes, most guys try and stay, like I said, they want a job, so they will try and stay, and their team will see the worth. And like Sagan takes 5 with him, that's extreme, but you will see 1 or 2 guys that'll stay with a big sprinter for their whole career.
You're doing a lot of work, obviously working with younger riders and the development side of things. When you are looking for a team, say if you're either breaking into the pro ranks or you're already an established pro, how important is, or what are some of the factors you've got to think about when you are making that decision on where to go?
Oh, you mean as the rider or the director?
As the rider. So, like, you're seeing a lot of riders changing teams and people's reactions are, oh, hey, what's going on here? But over the years, I mean, how important is it sometimes to change and not even look at the dollars and cents of your career choice? I mean, what are these sort of factors that you look at?
Well, you've just got to look where you're going to have the best opportunity for yourself. So, I mean, if you're in a lead-out train where there's 3 or 4 really good guys, maybe you're not going to last in that team. So you just, you want to really you've got to take care of yourself because no one else will. But I mean, it's doing what's best for yourself, really. So, and also the culture is massive. So never heard of someone, hating their job. They want to be in a good team where there's great culture because that just brings longevity. So, go with your mates, have a good time, also do a great job and have good, communication relationship with, the staff and how the team operates. Everything they're huge, all those decisions to have a long career. That's for sure.
There's been some interesting signings, but with some of the riders leaving, swapping teams as they do at this time of the year and being announced. But one of the ugliest ones has been Sam Bennett going back to Bora, and some of the Lefebvre has been quite damning of Sam Bennett. So, what's your take on that one, mate?
I'm just going to be like brutally honest, Hank, here. I think Lefebvre is an absolute idiot. Seriously, he is a piece of work. That guy. Anyone who talks about riders that are leaving to the public about mental health should not be in a position of power. He's always been like that. He's just been the most arrogant bloke you could ever meet. He actually thinks the team's about him, which is really sad because he should be helping young guys and making them better. But listen, they're the most successful team in the world, so you can't knock that. Success is huge in their organisation, but the way he treats riders is disgraceful. I can't. I just read the comments and I have to be quiet on social media, otherwise I'm going to regret, what I'm going to say because it stays forever. But I suppose it's the same on here. But
well, I did get the one wood out at the time. I sort of said he was a bully for a lot of the stuff he did. And the thing is, you can understand if he's disappointed. You can understand if he's pissed off. That's fine. But these should be private conversations. Like, don't use the media as a launching pad to sort of vent and take down someone else if they do have issues with mental health or other surrounding sort of problems. That's only going to make it worse because you're not dealing with robots. You're dealing with people, these actual people. So why would you make a problem worse? Like, show some respect.
He doesn't get that. No. And you know what? It just makes him look bad.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
There's no class there whatsoever, is there? I think it's like a dog act. I really do. I don't like it at all.
And he doesn't just put it on social media. He writes a column in Het Nieuwsblad, one of the biggest sports newspapers in Belgium and in Europe. So he's got a fair following, and you get anyway. You did right.
Well,
and then to compare it with battered women going back to their husbands and that. I mean,
what are you doing?
Did you notice that he had to make a small retraction about a week later?
Yes.
He had to apologize. I guarantee his head sponsor would have just gone, listen, if you don't apologize for those comments, we're out of here. Because I reckon no company would want to be involved with those sort of comments.
For sure not.
I agree.
For sure not. Yeah. Now, one other thing is obviously Mark Cavendish had a pretty successful bloody Tour de France. Is it all right? Chapeau, won the green jersey, won all the stages, but do you have to factor in the circumstances around it to sort of say, hey, that was a bit of a asterisk year, or is it on his merits and he'll go around again next year and we should expect probably not the same level of success? What's your take on particularly next year for Cav?
Oh, mate, I reckon it's a one-off. But if you watched every sprint, it just reminded me of how good Robbie was, even later in his career. There was all experience. And listen, there was some good sprinters there, but it wasn't the creme de la creme. I can't see him doing that again, but, mate, I loved every second of it. It was amazing, especially I'm an old codger now, and he's no spring chicken. So for him to still produce that speed is exceptional. So, I mean, I'm a bigger fan now, even though he put on a few tantrums, which is pretty atrocious with his mechanic. That wasn't a good look for Cav. But yeah, I can tell you I enjoyed every second of it. It was fantastic. But yes, an asterisk, yeah.
He said to be a born again Cav until he cracked at that time. He was. We kept trying to count the amount of cuddles and bloody everything he did to everyone. You couldn't count them. But I agree. You can't take anything away from him. You only can beat who are there. Now, okay.
Yep.
Caleb doesn't crash. Caleb probably wins all of those stages, but Caleb did crash. He wasn't there, and Jasper Philipsen is bloody one of the quickest in the world, as he proved last night, and he put him away every day. Jasper Philipsen got on the podium 6 times.
Yeah,
and one of them he did beat Cav, but
I disagree with you about Caleb winning every one that he won, because the cards don't always fall that way. Like, yes, pound for pound, Caleb Ewan, number 1 sprinter in the world, but it doesn't always fall that way. And with the experience that Cav's got, you would think he would have got him at least once. Do you know what I mean? You would have got him one-on-one one time. Maybe Caleb wins 2 out of the 4, but, everything's got to be perfect.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's very true. Very true.
But, I mean, Cav's tantrum, it's not uncommon in cycling. There are riders that are notorious for being meticulous and throwing tantrums and that. Throughout your career, if you saw something like that, even if it was a teammate, would you pull him aside and say, what are you doing?
I'd clip him around the ear roll. Seriously, I'd give him a whop over the back of the head. Like, seriously, these guys work till 11 o'clock at night for you for like 110 days a year. They drive 4,000 Ks to a race. They get there, they try and do everything possible, and it's a 0.1 of a mil off your perfection, and then you scream at them like they're the lowest of the lowest. Mate, you're only as good in your organisation as the way you treat people. So I don't rate it at all.
Well, I was always told the first year of Green Edge by a couple of the guys that have been on teams for years, they said number 1 way to get ahead in this team is how you treat the mechanics in the Swan years, because they're the hardest workers. They're the ones that move your suitcases, and they're the ones that have the keys to the truck, which has chocolate. And I was like, sold. So I just stayed on the side of the mechanics of the Swatties and, always share business. And, mate, it was amazing how many perks I got. That's why I put on about 15K.
Another good point, because I'm a DS now, right? So I spend hours and hours and hours with my mechanic in the car, and he's in your ear all the time. So if you treat the mechanic like shit, the mechanic ain't going to like you. And then, he's going to badmouth you to the director, and he did this and he did that. So go straight to the top. So, You got to be careful what you do, the mechanic.
It's like a game of Survivor. You know, you got to find your tribe, and that's everyone. Don't snake anyone, or you'll get bloody voted off. So,
and I tell you what, it gets out to other teams too. The way you behave, like I've signed guys because they've been good blokes over, the same, two riders might be, the same ability. I'll sign the better bloke who's nice and, has a better culture. You want those people in your team. You don't want arrogance.
Well, you're talking about culture, particularly when you're looking to go to a team. What do you think defines a good culture in a cycling organisation?
It's something you got to create. A culture is you got to create your own culture within the team to make sure that they want to get riding and training and racing and getting together. Like you want, a good bloke. Everyone wants a good bloke in the team who just sacrifice and bleed for each other and, that create that mateship. You want those people in your squad because you'll die for them and they'll die for you. So the ones that are thinking about what they're doing next year and about themselves, if they're selfish, they're not just going to make it. So you can pretty much pick that. It's a small sport and you're at the same races every week, so you get to know them really well. So you would know who are the good blokes and who aren't, and just their behaviour in the team. So it's pretty easy to pick. The boys all know.
It is. It's very clicky.
I was going to ask you.
Okay, easy, Johnny. No old stories, mate.
No. I've got a couple. We'll go back to those later. But what are your thoughts on Astana? I see Premier Tech, the Canadian company, are leaving, and Vinokurov back in charge for next year. Have you heard anything, any scuttlebutt of what went on there?
Oh, mate, I'm not in the loop with any of that stuff. But, he's strong-armed that sponsor out of there because the Canadian sponsor was like, oh, my God, this guy's out of control. Let's get rid of him. And then he's pulled out the big guns to come back in, and you can read through the lines pretty easily. I mean, I don't profess to know any inside info there, Johnny, but I don't think much changed from his cycling days of Vino. He'd be bucking and weaving and shaking and moving to try and, position himself to get back into the power position as he did in the peloton.
I've never been a huge fan of Vino, but he's been a sensational bike rider. But I've never
wasn't he? He was amazing.
Amazing. But I was impressed. So I was looking at the guy, Aran Baru. I'll get his name right. The Spaniard who's actually running second, only 4 seconds behind Roglic at the moment. I think he really tried to get the red jersey last night because I think it's his last chance because you'll get spat on the really tough climb tonight. But I was impressed, one, with his time trial. It was a great ride. And he sat in that seat for most of the day. And then Roglic, the last rider, pinched it off him, but only by 6 seconds. And then the way he last night tried to get those time bonuses, he went for the intermediate sprint, which near the end, and just got rolled by Fabio. And then and was right in the mix, finished 5th in the stage, trying to get those few seconds to get that red jersey. Very impressive.
Yep. No, well, absolutely. And it's always, there's so many great little races within the race, isn't there? He knows he's got no chances. I remember doing it in my first couple of Tour de France, trying to do the best prologue ride and then maybe, finish, get it. We used to do that with Stewie as well in the GAN days, try and get some bonus sprints. And we're in the team with Moccasin and Francois Simon, and we're all going for that for the first, couple of Tour de France's. I remember those days very well.
How much will the weather play as a factor here? Because I was talking to people in Girona today and they said it is hot. There is a heat wave at the moment. It's high 30s. Some parts of Spain are 45 degrees. I mean, what sort of effect does that have on your racing, Hank, when you're riding that sort of temp?
Yeah, I mean, we're day 3 now. So not as much as day 10, day 15, day 18. Because, I mean, if it was this kind of temperature when they're riding mountaintop after mountaintop, whole category climb after whole category, that's when, it's accumulative. So I don't think tomorrow will be like crazy because they'll be super hydrated. But as the days go on, it just seems that they fatigue more and it's just harder to eat and drink as the Grand Tour goes on. So not a massive thing tomorrow. Obviously, yeah, when you've got great condition, you can do anything. As long as you drink enough, obviously. I mean, from the great words of Eddie Merckx, when you're thirsty, it's already thirsty and hungry, it's already too late. So you would hope at these days in 2021 that they've got enough people around them that and enough riders in the team to get enough liquid in. So I wouldn't think that it's accumulative, but will be in a week. And I just have worse memories of the Vuelta. I've been just really. I remember doing Sierra Nevada one year and like 40 degrees and going up a 27k climb. It was just horrific. Like the Vuelta is nasty. It's a nasty race at this time of the year.
If you had to choose between extreme cold or extreme heat, what would you choose?
Extreme heat.
Extreme heat.
Any day, mate. I've done 3 days at a punter. I was riding the front for Ekimov. This is in 1st of March. There was snow on the side of the road. It was 0 degrees, and I had to ride the front to bring a brake back. And we had the team car coming up with hot tea and brandy in it. And I'd pour half on my hand so I could use my brakes or change the gears. And I'd scull the other half, which would keep me warm for about 3.5 minutes. And then I'd be putting my hand up for another one 25 minutes later because it was just that's putrid, that stuff. Like I'd rather any day.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, let's take a quick break and have a word from Bike Exchange and the Amy Gillett Foundation. Then we'll have a look at stage 3 because it's going to be fireworks. We're predicting with that final climb.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for 0 cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised and 1 cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate and conscientious. Every cyclist death is preventable and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange and some great messages there from our Amy Gillett Foundation. Now, Henk, you're going to head off really soon, so let's have a quick look at the profile for stage 3. And as we said, it's a bit of a nasty climb at the finish there. What are you expecting on this stage, mate?
Oh, it's obviously an absolutely filthy stage, and I think that Roglic's boys will keep that well under control. And he'll probably smash them up the last climb. I think he's obviously on top of the world after winning the Olympic time trial, and I can see him being really good for the first 10 days. But yeah, I think it's going to be a stretch for him to win this Vuelta personally. So someone like Bernal has got a lot to race for, and I would say those two will come to the finish tomorrow.
Iffy?
Yeah. Interesting, when you look at that profile, the sprinters teams aren't going to work like they did yesterday. Yesterday, Jumbo Visma just sat back. Ruggles didn't have to worry because sprinters teams all had to work on it. They know they're not going to be involved in the finish. And they're not going to work. Will Jumbo Visma be prepared to do the hard work and Ineos to contain the breakaway? The problem being only stage 3, there aren't enough good riders who are far enough down that you can let go because whoever does get away will most likely take the red jersey. So it'll be interesting. In the end, I think probably Ineos and Jumbo will just do enough that the break won't get far enough in front to be able to take the stage. But it'll be one of those touch and go ones, I think.
Yeah. I reckon they'll keep him at under 4 minutes. I reckon they'll let him to get out to like 5 or 6 minutes, a group of 10, make sure there's no GC favourites in it, and the two teams will ride. They'll chuck 3 on each. And they know that, if they've got 3 minutes at the bottom, they got them, or maybe 4 minutes at the bottom, they're going to catch them up that climb because it's 202K. So you can't chop off all day and ride as quick as those boys can on that last climb and survive, unless a climber sneaks in there, but they just won't let it happen, I reckon. But you never know. The Vuelta's nuts. Like every year, there's always, the crosswinds that, smash the pillow, and there's always, in every Grand Tour I've ever been to, there's always a surprise stage. This could be it, So that's what's great about cycling, eh?
That's it. Bloody excited. And it's a better time to watch it compared to the TT the other night. So there's no excuses, Iffy. Hey, thanks for coming on the show, mate. Fantastic insights. We've got a couple of comments before you go. Great show, fellas, from Tommy Hogan. Free Ranger says, great insights from Henk. Thanks, guys. The Skull says, don't hold back. Tell it straight. Yep, that's what they love about you. And then someone else said, Samantha says, agree, Hank, he's a bloody tool. Obviously talking about Lefebvre. Good luck to you, Sam. And Tom says, I missed the start of the show, but are you aware it's the anniversary of Hank Senior's passing 2019? Rip Hank Senior. Thoughts with you and your family, mate. Heard a lot of stories about your old man, and obviously you're heavily connected with the cycling.
He's a bit of a legend. Quick story before we go. He rode the 1964 Tokyo Olympics with Stuart O'Grady's uncle, Bob Baird, and they got 4th in the team pursuit against Holland. Can you believe it? My old man was born in Holland, immigrated when he was 11. They rode off against the Dutch for the bronze medal in the team pursuit and lost by 100th of a second on a 450-metre outdoor concrete track. And they lost one rider after a lap. And the 3 of them held on for the Dutch, who finished with 4, and they lost by 100th of a second. So there's a bit of team pursuit trivia there at the end of the day for just now the Olympics are finished. But, so I just throw it there. And also, just a quick plug, I'm doing the Mental Wheels ride later on in the year with Vaughan. I know he was on here not so long ago. So, jump on and donate to that foundation, either me or Vaughan, whatever we can. It'll be great ride up here. So, mental health's massive, and it's half the reason we've started our cycling team up here on the sunny coast, to mentor and look after young blokes. So, jump on that one if you can, guys, if you're watching.
That's mentalwheelsfoundation.org. Doing some great work, mate. So, as you said, get behind it. And mental health is very important, Iffy.
Just want to say, Henkster, thank you very much for coming on board. And you've got to come on board again during this Vuelta, because I do want to tell some old Henk stories. I've got a couple of
you're going to have a pre-chat before.
We might have to run through a few stories, and and it is, I
won't throw you under the bus. I'll only throw you under the small bus, not the big bus.
All right, guys.
All right, mate. Take it easy, Hank. Thanks, mate.
See ya.
No worries. Great insights there from Henk Vogals. Now, I did put the Detour fishing rod out there and try to get Julian Dean, and he's replied and said, we're on the bus in the middle of nowhere. I'll see where we were placed when I get to the start. So it is looking doubtful that we'll get insights from Jules, but we'll definitely get hold of him over the next couple of days. Now, before we do go, John, we need to talk about the silent auction for the Careca Foundation. And as we've been plugging all through the tour, careca.co.za/Peloton, where you can become part of Phil's Peloton. And the Miller Resort in the Maldives have offered up an unbelievable prize, Iffy, that we're going to silent auction.
It is absolutely amazing. And I've been telling a few of my mates about it. They're very keen they'll be all watching tonight. So you're going to show a little.
I'll show a little clip now, and this gives you a taste of what the resort's all about. How good does that look? Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you'll be thinking, hey, and where are the pictures? Well, get on the website, amilla.com, and have a look at some of the villas and the details around the prize, Iffy. I texted them to you today. Do you want to read it out? Or?
Oh, I thought you.
Oh, do you want me to read it?
Yeah. Well, I'll go.
So the details for the auction are: it's 5 nights in an overwater pool villa, including breakfast and dinner. It's valued at $10,000 US, which is equivalent in Aussie dollars, 13.5 grand, bit over. So yeah, go to miller.com. It's a silent auction. If you want to get involved, put your bid in, email it to john@cyclingevents.com.au, and we'll announce the winner of the silent auction, and we're going to obviously plug it every day throughout the Vuelta, but we'll announce that on the final day. That'll be the cutoff. So it's a fantastic
we'll keep informing people what it gets to. We just won't announce who the person is. And then whoever gets the wins the auction, whoever pays the highest price, will receive a voucher from Miller, and an invoice will come direct from Careca, and they pay it directly to the foundation.
Fantastic. Now, Samantha's got a great idea. She said, so I had a thought, all going well next year and we're allowed to travel, you guys need to run a spectator tour to the TDF. What do you reckon? Firing up the dedicated detour bus, Iffy. What could go wrong? I would say Samantha didn't watch last night's episode. I'm hoping she didn't and doesn't go back to it, because you destroyed any chance of people wanting to come on a detour, I would think. But anyway, except a few hardcore footy fans. Mate, I think you just took it a little. You've read into it too much, John. It's not normally like you. You got this sort of skinny corporate frame now. Just get embarrassed.
I couldn't actually understand what I was saying through part of it, but when I was trying to talk to your father, who I don't know whether your dad's seen it yet, but I don't reckon he'd be happy.
He won't return my calls, so join a few dots there. Will Wizard, how are you Aussies going to get there? Swim, aren't you all in lockdown and can't fly? Jeez, negative Nancy. No, of course we're going to wait until we get to 80% vaccinated, which won't take long, mate. We got 1,000 jabs a week. We'll be fine.
It's starting to turn around. But Will Wizard, we'll be over there when you can come over here, because don't forget, you've got a couple of weeks of Let's Go Motorhome waiting for you, Will Wizard, when you can find.
That's right. Here. Yeah. Hey, this is totally irrelevant. And obviously, we've just been slapped with it's like we're grounded in Victoria with the COVID. We've got the curfew, not in Geelong, but in Melbourne, 9 till 5. So to lift people's spirits, I went on a bit of a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I found this old video I made. Remember those old Mentos ads? You know, where the guy gets the Mentos and he solves all the world's problems. I remember doing one at film school. I'm quite prepared to take the piss on myself, because this is pretty stupid. This is a little 30-second Mentos ad I did in 2003. No relevance other than I hope you get a laugh out of it.
It doesn't matter what comes, fresh goes better in life. With Mentos fresh and full of life, nothing gets to you. Staying fresh, staying cool. With Mentos fresh and full of life, fresh goes better. Mentos fresh goes the Fresh Maker.
Hey, was that B-roll I saw?
There's B-roll.
Yeah.
James Calero, who helped with the original Detour movie. So, Free Ranger, bring back Dennis the Drunk. They're loving it. All right. All good. Well, Jules is obviously still in the middle of nowhere, but I think we had some fantastic insights from Henk Vogals, and thanks again for him coming on the show. We'll have plenty of guests throughout the next 3 weeks, and we'll be on again at 6:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Thanks for your support again with the show. Remember to tell all your mates, like, share, subscribe, youtube.com/The Detour Podcast. Anything you want to add before we go, John?
Well, it's important that people do like, subscribe, become a part of the Detour family, because one, you get that ding every time we like to air, and then you're a part of our Detour family, and we will work on a Tour de France trip next year.
Well, probably like most professional shows, we should mention it at the start of the show. You know, like, share, subscribe at the start. We always do it at the end. You might have to mix that up. Maybe you can start doing the intros. Just yeah.
You're the legend, mate. I'm only the sidekick. I'm Pancho.
Okay. The original odd couple. All right. Thanks for joining in again, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. Cheers.